Ellen, I'm here.
Yeah, I'm here too. I was waiting for him to start recording, but I think he just started. Okay. All right, so we're all set. I see, let me see who I got on here. From MBD, okay, I see Michael and Michelle are on. And Jennifer is on, correct? Okay. All right, you want to go ahead and get started, Mike?
Yeah. So good morning, everybody. If we're recording, so Michael Collins, Commissioner for Neighborhood and Business Development. We've got a few things that are happening. You guys just approved for us, and thank you. The letter. I'm sorry. The council overall approved the letter that we're doing with for the grant application with the Bureau of Research, so that we can move forward and get some financial education happening for our participants in the summer youth programming. Obviously, we don't know what summer youth program is going to look like this summer, but that isn't for this summer. It's a planning grant. We're moving forward with planning for our budget hearings and largely trying to make sure that codes and permits and the business planning departments are all moving forward in ways that are keeping the business of the city moving forward. Anything in particular you'd like me to start addressing?
Nope, I just wanted you guys to go over what you have coming up on the agenda.
So we don't have.
Okay, Latoya, Councilor Allen, Michael, excuse me a minute, because I hear a lot of background noise, so a lot of folks aren't muted. So can we get muted, please? Thank you.
Michelle can correct me where I'm wrong, but I don't think we've got anything coming up on the next agenda that is anything out of the typical. Michelle, I think you might have some properties coming up.
Yeah, we have 4 land bank properties that are tagged for infill. 2 are vacant lots, and then 2 are vacant structures. 1 has been vacant since 2014, the other of which has been vacant since 2015.
For each of these, do you have any plans for the vacant lots or for the structure? Is there a further plan?
They're part of an infill planning cluster, so our plan is we would request to transfer them to the land bank with this caveat that they be reserved for infill construction.
Okay. All right. As long as it wasn't a plan for the side lots, the vacant lots to be sold off as side lots. Okay.
Nope.
All right. And that's it. You only have 4?
Yep.
Okay.
They're all on, 2 of them are on Holland and 2 of them are on Kellogg Street. So.
You said Holland and Kellogg?
Yep.
Okay. Councilor Hogan, that's your district.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Did you have any further questions?
I do have a couple of questions. I was just wondering, I don't know if Michael would want to talk to it. Certainly Michelle knows all about it, but the proposal by the administration to cut the land bank down to $500,000 from $250,000. I seem to remember that the council last year added $250,000, and I'm sorry, I got phones going off here and everything else. Specifically for demolition. I was just wondering how that would impact any kind of plans you might have.
So, Councilor, it's a good question. This is one of those times when we're doing our best to figure out just where we can take the revenue hits in ways that are least destructive to the services to the constituents. So at the moment, since we do have access to the additional CDBG funding, the thought is that if we're able to take some of that money, and it's HUD dollars, so it's housing, so it's totally appropriate, and have that set aside for land bank, specifically for the demolition, that just helps spread spread the pain around a little bit, basically. So yeah, we had originally wanted to have that budget line up at 750 total, and just didn't feel that we were able to do that overall. So the reality is, what it's going to do is it will affect the number of demos that Taylor will be able to do this year.
I don't know, maybe Councilor Bay or Councilor Allen could ask or certainly relay their thoughts on this. But as far as the infill project, will that be affected at all by any kind of like cuts in your budget at all?
Well, we think that the infill project is going to be certainly affected by COVID overall. So we're still looking at ways to move forward with the project. I don't suspect we're going to be anywhere near the original scale we had proposed. And part of that is certainly based off of what we're going to be able to do within our own funding, but also just there's a lot of external forces on this as well. So I suspect we're going to see an infill project that is moving forward in a very modified way.
And from my understanding, the amount that we were initially going to do has been dramatically decreased. But that wasn't just because of COVID. So the funding from the city's portion, I don't think was 100% secured anyways. So it's not all due to COVID, but this makes it a lot worse.
Question. Any of us, I mean, obviously this may not be for us to answer, but I think the question is, how much money does the land bank have in reserve?
I'd leave that question to the land bank.
Counselor, I think it's 2.8, something like that now. I'd have to look at my last figure since I sit on the board.
Okay.
The land bank has made it last year. They made a concerted effort to try to become with a real estate tax initiative by the county executive, and I think the mayor was on board with that for the real estate transfer tax, and that was turned by as getting a portion of that would to be a self-funding mechanism, but that was shot down by the county legislature. Not shot down; it wasn't even put forward by the county legislature.
Okay, any other questions? I see Tim, you're on. You have any questions?
I just can't really read a clock. So what was we just mentioned the land bank being reduced, and then were you talking about the housing plan that I heard the end of?
Kind of, yeah, all of that mixed in together. So Councilor Hogan had a question about the land bank's budget being reduced. So that's how we kind of got on the subject of that. And then he proposed a question of if the infill construction project would be delayed or decrease, which is naturally going to happen. And I was just adding, not just because of COVID-19, but just because of the gaps in the budget anyways.
So if the plan was 50 initially, what plan now?
We're not at that point yet, Councilor.
We don't have the numbers yet.
Very low.
Yep.
I'm just wondering, is anybody else from the administration on at all besides you, Mike? I know you're sort of new.
Deputy Mayor was pulled away, so she's not able to be on at the moment.
I know there's going to be quite a strong push by both the governors and many mayors across the city for another funding phase to cover this COVID issue. And I was just wondering if we have a strategic plan on how to access any of that money if it becomes available.
So basically the way that they did it this round is just a simple CDBG type formula. And I say CDBG, although there's ESG money in there and there's some HOPWA 20 money in there as well. And a reminder that the money that comes to us for HOPWA, for the housing with persons with AIDS, that actually gets administered by the state. Us turning it over to the state means that there's there's matching dollars there. So we have a lot more money coming back to the community for that. As far as the planning on how to access it, or what we would do with it, is that which?
No, not so much. I mean, is there a strategy to sort of access it somehow? Some
So-
sort of strategy out of City Hall in order to like let people know that, we would like to be part of that. Now, I don't know if they've explored how the channels this is going to come through, but there seems to be a lot of pressure from the governors of states and from different mayors in order to be part of this third or fourth phase of COVID funding.
So I know that we've been talking with Senator Schumer's office, Congressman Cackler's office about the current CDBG funding. As we've been looking for HUD to roll stuff out, I'll circle back with them and make sure that we're looking to make sure that we're able to put our needs forward as well as they look for how they're going to advocate for what's next.
And
Thank you, Michael.
that ultimately it's going to come back to the council anyways, as far as how the additional funding is spent. So I think that's something that we have to start thinking about as well. Like, how do we want to make sure that the organizations that are getting the funding are the ones that are actually helping the people that are directly impacted by the COVID-19?
So we're on a point where we have incomplete guidance on what the process will be for. So they're calling it CDBG
The whole country
/CG.
is.
Yeah. HUD has done better than one might have expected in getting this out to us so far. So I think that we'll continue to see more information over the next couple of days.
And certainly, Michael, any of us city councilors would be any kind of effort at all that we might use to lobby anybody, we'd be available for, obviously.
Appreciate that, and yes, we are all on the same page when it comes to making sure that we get what we everything we can for our constituents.
Councilor Bay can be very persuasive when he needs to be.
Absolutely.
Do you?
Michael, based on our lines of work and expertise, if we can also offer you additional information of things that we are also doing in the city and the county, let us know.
Absolutely.
Mike, I before you started, we did the whole codes stuff. Will there eventually be some kind of update or response to like how things are going to change in codes, or would that be part of the budget later, or how do you anticipate kind of a different topic? But
so I'm gonna jump in really quick because this isn't the budget hearing. This is just the standing committee.
It's just the standing committee. I know 20 seconds.
Right,
But
I understand that, but I just wanted to let that be known for the people that came in late. This isn't the budget hearing, since I got a text message from the side in the chat group. This is not the budget hearing. This is the standing committee meeting for business development. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So,
I didn't see like any formal response from anybody on the letter we wrote, so I was just curious if there's a plan or some kind of response coming eventually.
We certainly have read the letter. You'll get an update as to how things have progressed within what we've done with code, what got a full awareness of that was already happening at the time that you guys wrote that. But yeah, we will give you guys an update as to where things are with codes, and frankly, I will argue that codes and permits has responded to this crisis in a way that few departments across this state in any municipality could hold. It's been incredibly impressive what they have done. But yeah, we'll talk more on that later.
Since you guys printed up these budget books before you knew the amount that the extra amount that you would receive from HUD, so is this going to impact your overall budget, or how are you going to like segue into the new funding that will become available?
So the budget book should have the rough total included within it for how much we're going to pull out of the CDBG. funding, we would have about 600, since it's 3 million, 600,000 in admin, because there's always a 20% pull on the admin. Considering, and again, that's considering it's 20% of what you put out the door, right? So, you know, considering every penny goes out, and you run into problems every once in a while with someone that runs into a legitimate reason why they can't spend every penny. And there's the other stuff that goes into the program side. And so we've talked in the mayor's presentation, he mentioned that we would be reimbursed positions within Ken's department, some of the code inspectors through CDBG. And to Councilor Hogan's point, some of the money from the land bank will do this time within CDBG. So a long way to say that generally speaking, the million or so, little over, that we're expecting to use out of this to support housing related stuff in the budget is for within it.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Sure.
Did you have anything else, Mike?
I don't. So I didn't have anything else in my notes. Ken or
Ken is on the line.
Yep. I see Owen's in here as well. Gentlemen, you and Jen's here as well. So if there's anything else I forgot, please speak up.
Good afternoon, Councilor. This is Ken Towsley, Director of Codes. Something I want to put on your radar that will be going to Councilor Driscoll is the final generic environmental impact study. Working with CNS over the last couple of weeks, taking in the public comments. That final draft has been completed and should be submitted in the next day or two. Some points to bring up on that. There were some language changes in the study. Some definitions were added that were requested. EPA standards to meet the federal guidelines have been changed. And we're going to be going with alternative 1 for the ordinance going forward. So that should be submitted to Councilor Driscoll and should be on your desk hopefully by the end of this week.
Okay.
On our virtual desk or on our real desk?
All right.
I deliver yours, President.
Any other questions or anything to add? No.
I think we're good.
So from this department, we'll only have those 4 items that Michelle mentioned, and Michael, we won't have anything else to add on here.
No. Nope. And we're just looking forward to codes on the 20 for the budget hearings on the 21st and for NBD on the 22nd.
Okay, I think this is going to be the shortest agenda that I've ever had since I've been here.
I think you're right.
Councilor Clem, I know we were talking yesterday. Do we know, is the Temple Concord issue on this agenda or next one, or what is that?
So I'm assuming that it's not going to be on this one. And I did receive the email. I'm not meeting with them until Friday. So I wouldn't even want it to be on this agenda because they would have missed their opportunity to present today. And I don't want just one side of the story. I would rather have both. So I would wait until the next one.
Sounds good.
Okay. All right. So nothing further?
I'm good. Michelle, you're good? Yeah, I'm seeing her head nod. Jen or Heather, do either of you have anything that needs to be brought up?
Nope.
No, thank you.
Okay.
I think
All right.
we're good.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
We're
you,
out.
Councilor.
Thanks, Michael.
All right, take care.
All right.
Thank you.
Be safe. Goodbye.
Councilor Allen,
Bye. You too.
guys.